Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, it's good to be back to Mini Mosque again. Alhamdulillah, I think this is a regular occurrence now. MashaAllah, it's a blessed masjid and it's nice to come and visit the community. So today, inshallah, as Brother Asif mentioned, we're going to be talking about Zakat. And the purpose of today's workshop is basically to take you through step by step how you would calculate your own Zakat. Yeah, how you calculate your own Zakat. And it's a process that everybody has to go through in order to get the right figure to pay Zakat. The National Zakat Foundation, just a quick bit of information about NZF. It's a charity that was set up in 2011 with the sole purpose of dealing with Zakat in the UK. And there are two main strands to NZF. One is dealing with Zakat payers and the other is dealing with Zakat recipients. So when it comes to Zakat payers, we try to provide everything that somebody would need in order to pay their Zakat in terms of information and knowledge. So that's through workshops, through these guides. So here you've all got a general Zakat guide which talks you through how to pay your Zakat. We've got a guide specifically on pensions, one on business assets, one on missed Zakat. So these are all guides that have been produced to help the Muslim community figure out how to pay Zakat correctly. We run these workshops, so we've got 200 workshops around the country which are being delivered in Ramadan. Again, at like masjids like this where we'll come in and talk about Zakat and how to calculate Zakat. We have the hotline, the Zakat query line. We get up to 100 calls a day with queries on Zakat. So it's pretty much just supporting the Muslim community to fulfill the third pillar of Islam and ensure that they're paying their Zakat. And what we found is that many brothers and sisters in the communities we've gone to have either not been paying Zakat or they've been paying it incorrectly. And of course that's a failing on, I'd say the community's part, in the sense that we've never given Zakat its importance. Growing up we just say it's a charity, you just have to give something, not really trying to figure out what we have to pay Zakat on and how we have to pay Zakat. So inshallah, that's what we're trying to do. And this isn't a fundraiser, this isn't telling you to give Zakat to the NZF. We never tell anybody where to give Zakat. When it comes to giving Zakat, that's your responsibility, and you should do your own due diligence, find a charity, an organization that you're comfortable with, and give your Zakat to them. So it's never a case of, give Zakat to us. Give Zakat to wherever you feel comfortable. The main thing is, you're giving your Zakat. So the first thing we start off with is, what is the meaning of Zakat? Okay, so in the Arabic language, it's got three primary meanings. Yes, purification, growth, and blessing. So when we give Zakat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, that successful is the one who has purified it. I.e., and the word used is zakkaha, which is it comes from the root zakat. And it means purification. Another meaning which is connected to the third meaning is growth and blessing. So when you give your zakat, your wealth will grow. You might be thinking, how's my wealth growing? I'm giving £100, £200 zakat, it's going down. And you're telling me it's growing. But here you find that when you give your zakat, you see the blessings in your life. You will see, subhanAllah, Allah will bless your family, will bless your wealth will be able to go further, you'll be able to get more out of your wealth. This is through the barakah of giving the zakat. When we talk about zakat in terms of paying your zakat, what does it mean in Islam, in the Sharia? It's very simple, you get all these technical definitions, but we made it very simple. It refers to paying a fixed percentage. What's the fixed percentage? How much? 2.5%. Of wealth prescribed by Allah to deserving recipients. And we'll talk about this in the coming slides. Why should we pay zakat? Okay, first and foremost, Allah commands us in the Quran. It's a command of Allah. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions the word zakat 32 times. Yes, and 28 times it comes with the word salah. So here the ulama, they've talked a lot about this. Why is it that every time zakat comes, it's connected with salah? Because it shows us the importance. Here everybody knows the importance of salah. We have to pray 5 times a day. Yes, there's no exceptions. When it comes to zakat, we don't know. We don't give it that same importance. Whereas Allah is teaching us that just as you give salah importance, which is your individual connection with Allah, realize that zakah has the same importance because it's your connection with the community. It's supporting those who are in need. It's supporting the vulnerable, the weak. And this is why it's very important that we ensure we are paying our zakah. Of course, it purifies our soul. Allah tells us in the Quran, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ, that you will not attain piety until you spend from that which you love. Yes, until you give from that which you love. You will not attain righteousness, piety with Allah until you give from that which you love. And everybody loves wealth. But when you give that wealth, that thing that everybody works day and night, what for? To accumulate wealth, to ensure they have a nice lifestyle for their family, etc. But when you're giving that for the sake of Allah, this is a form of purification. You're purifying your wealth and giving up something that you love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, thanking Allah for the blessing of wealth. As we know, to do shukr is more than just saying Alhamdulillah. When we talk about showing gratitude to Allah, it's more than just saying Alhamdulillah or thank you Allah or shukr Allah. Actually, as the ulama, they mention that shukr requires action. It requires you to act. It requires you to do some actions to show that shukr, to show that gratitude. That's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said that there are 3 aspects to shukr. There are 3 aspects. The first is inwardly recognizing the blessing that Allah has bestowed upon you. Today, subhanAllah, how many of us appreciate the blessings that Allah has bestowed upon us? The simple things, the air we breathe, the electricity we enjoy. I just came back from Egypt on Friday, and subhanAllah, there is very hot. As you can imagine, 40 degrees. And you're sitting in the flat, you're trying to revise for your exam, and it's hot, and you're fasting, and then the electricity gets cut off. So you've got no fans, you've got no AC. And it's subhanAllah, at times like that where you realize the blessing of electricity. These things that we take for granted. So firstly, as Ibn al-Qayyim says, you have to inwardly recognize the blessing. That you recognize these are all the family I have, the wealth I have, all of these things are blessings from Allah. Secondly, you give thanks for it. So you say shukr and you outwardly say Alhamdulillah. And thirdly, he says you use the blessings in a way which is pleasing to Allah. So you use the blessings that Allah has given you in a way which is pleasing to Him. That's true shukr. There's no as many of the ulama, they said that the greatest form of ingratitude is when you use the blessings of Allah to disobey Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with eyes, you use these same eyes to disobey Him. Allah's blessed you with wealth, you use that same wealth to disobey Him. So really, to show true gratitude is to use the blessing in a way which is pleasing to Allah. Who must pay zakat? Okay, so those required to pay zakat are, of course, first and foremost a Muslim. Okay, so it's not required from non-Muslims. An adult. Okay, so somebody who's reached the age of puberty. A person of sound mind. Okay, who's sane. And in complete ownership of the nisab. And we're going to talk about what this nisab is shortly, inshallah. And there is a difference of opinion when it comes to children. Okay, when it comes to children. So the Hanafi school, okay, according to the Hanafi madhab, there is no wealth, there is no zakat due on the wealth of a child. So for example, you have a child who, on Eid, mashallah, has got a very generous uncle and auntie, and they give him £250, and mashallah, he has, on his Eid day, he's 10 years old and he's got £300-400. An uncle like Imran, mashallah, very generous. Okay, so now this child has got £300-400. Now he's above the nisab. As I said, we'll talk about how much exactly is the nisab. He's above the nisab. Now does he have to pay zakat? So the Hanafi madhab, they said no. He said, why would he have to pay zakat? Just as he doesn't have to pray, he's a child or a child under the age of puberty, doesn't have to pray, they don't have to give zakat. The other schools of thought, the other 3 madhahib, they said no. They said that zakat is due on the wealth. If there's money there, that zakat is due on. So therefore the guardian, the parents would take from that wealth and give zakat. So there is this difference of opinion. Okay, how many people here are married?
It's a good thing.
MashaAllah. People got 2 hands up. 2 wives? MashaAllah. You got, mashallah, quite a few brothers who are married. How many of you know your wedding anniversary date? People are thinking trying to play it cool. We all know the wedding anniversary day. Your wife doesn't let you forget that. Most people know their wedding anniversary day, yes, the day they got married on. And those who aren't married, they all know their birthday. Yes? Everybody knows their birthday. Now the question is, how many of us know our Zakat anniversary date? Hands up if you know your Zakat anniversary date. Any sisters? Mother? A few. Majority don't have a Zakat anniversary date, yes? Ramadan. Yeah, no specific date. We'll come on to look at why that is along, inshallah. Okay, some calculation essentials. Just before we get into the nitty-gritty, inshallah. So zakat is not only paid on wealth that you have saved or kept for a full Islamic year. What does that mean? What most people think is that you only give zakat on savings you have for one whole year. Meaning, let's say for example, you have £3,000 in Ramadan. And only if you keep that £3,000 to the next Ramadan do you have to give zakat on it. Okay, this is an incorrect assumption. Zakat is due on your anniversary date, even if you only had it for 2 weeks. Even if you only had it for 3 days. When your zakat anniversary date comes, zakat is due on it. It's a snapshot of, by the way, if anybody has any questions, as Asif mentioned, just put your hand up and you can ask them as we're going along. Yeah, most people, they want to prefer to ask on a specific point. This is why I said rather, if you leave it till the end, a lot of people forget. So if you have any questions, just ask away, inshallah.
So if you have a Zakat anniversary date, say it's in Ramadan, say it's the 27th, right? But you want to give to different causes throughout the month, say from the beginning, yeah? So you want, like for example, at this masjid, Abid, we have an appeal, and a lot of those are, you can give your Zakat for. So you want to, spread it out. Is that okay?
Yeah, so the scholars did differ on this. So many of them said it is permissible if it's done in advance. Yeah, so if it's done in advance of your Zakat anniversary date, you can do it. So your Zakat anniversary date, like you said, is the 27th. But you're giving Zakat throughout, the whole month of Ramadan. And then the 27th of Ramadan comes. You total how much have you given, you go through this whole process, what is due, and then you see how much have I given, and then you put the rest in. It's a snapshot of balance sheet calculation, so it's not income or cash flow related. What does that mean? That means that basically you could have somebody who earns £100,000, but they give less zakat than somebody who earns £30,000. Yes, you've got this guy, mashallah, he earns £100,000, but he's got like 7 kids. Yeah, they're in private school, and he's got all these expenses, and mashallah, he's got a nice house and a lot of outgoings. So his zakat anniversary date comes, and he's not got much savings, a few £1,000s, for example. But then you've got somebody who earns less than that, £30,000. So mashallah, he's living at home with his mum and dad, and everything's paid for, and all he does is save his money. Yeah, so on his zakat anniversary date, he's got £15,000-20,000. So he would pay more, yeah, regardless of the actual income. It's what you have on your zakat anniversary date. And it's an individual obligation, okay, meaning everybody has to do it individually. You can't just say, we'll all do it as a family. You do it individually, you work out your own zakat liability. And it's important to go through this calculation process, okay, that we're going to go through, the 3 steps. The 3 steps are, you add up your zakatable assets, okay, you take away your liabilities, and it leaves you with a net zakatable asset figure. Okay, so you have your assets, liabilities, and that leaves you with your zakatable figure that you have to give zakat on. Okay, nisab. As we said, only those who have above the nisab are required to pay zakat. So what is the nisab? The nisab is the threshold. The Prophet ﷺ set a threshold when it comes to zakat. He said anybody who has 20 mithqal of gold or 200 dirhams of silver, yes, is required to pay zakat. Okay, anybody who has 20 mithqal of gold or 200 dirhams of silver is required to pay zakat. Now at that time, 20 mithqal of gold was about the same as 200 dirhams of silver in terms of their value. Okay, so people, that was the currency of the time, that's what they used to deal in. So whatever they had, if they had above that amount, they would give zakat. The problem we have today is that there's such a difference now in terms of the value of gold and silver. So 20 mithqal of gold, which is about 87.48 grams, Okay, 20 misqal of gold, I think I checked today, was something like £2,795. So that's the nisab of gold. Now 200 dirhams of silver, which is 612 grams, is £265. So here you can see there's a massive difference. Yeah, at that time there wasn't, but now there is. So which nisab do we use? Do we use the gold nisab or do we use the silver nisab? Here again the scholars have differed. Many of them said use the silver nisab. Why? Why do you think he said use the silver nisab?
More people will pay them.
Exactly. So more people will pay the zakat. So more people will pay the zakat. So if you have on your zakat anniversary date above £265, yeah, zakatable assets, then zakat is due on you. Yeah. So your sisters, if there are any questions, you can shout out, inshallah, no problem. Yes, we so far we're okay. And we're following. Sometimes I know it's mashallah iftari time coming up and you'll start smelling pakori soon. You're going to think, yalla, come on.
What's the majority opinion?
You don't think is that you use silver. Yeah, so more people then will receive the zakat.
But if somebody wanted to use gold,
Then yeah.
then they can.
Okay, so if you have above £265 of zakatable assets, then zakat is due upon you. Now, as we mentioned, we said that it's important to have a zakat anniversary date. What does this mean? How is it supposed to have worked? The first time you went above the nisab, okay, so let's say the nisab figure is £265. The first time in your life that you possess above the nisab, that is supposed to be your zakat anniversary date. Okay, so let's say the first time in my life I possessed above the nisab, I was 16 years old, started getting EMA, had a job at McDonald's, mashallah, money's coming in. Yeah, so now I've got, at that time, the nisab was what, £120? Yeah, so I had above £120. That day that I got that wage, that money in, that was above £120, that's my zakat anniversary date. And we use the lunar calendar. Okay, so 1 year on, I would check on that date, what do I have? So that's exactly how it's supposed to have worked. Okay, so this is why you find people saying, I've never done that. So this is why we have this zakat guide to help people figure out how much zakat they should have paid over the years. Sorry brother, you had a question?
I was just going to ask you, is it based on the Islamic calendar?
Yes, exactly. It's based on the lunar calendar. Okay, so let's take, my zakat date is the 15th of Ramadan. So yesterday was my zakat date. If we use that as an example, on the 15th of Ramadan, what do I have in terms of zakatable assets? And we're going to go through all the zakatable assets. Yeah, and what liabilities, and then, I will pay zakat on that figure. So here's a simple graph. It shows you that, if the first time you came above the hawl was Jamad Thani, then 1 year on, if you're above the nisab, you would give zakat. Okay? So 1 year on, if you're above the nisab, £265, you would give zakat.
If you can't remember when you might have gone above the nisab.
Yeah, so we get this all the time. Some people say, I don't know when it was. What we do is we say, try your best to work it out. Most people, if you could have bank statements that go back to a certain period of time, you can work it out from that. If not, generally speaking, you will know what month you started working roughly at a new job, or when you started earning a decent income in terms of to pay zakat. Sometimes you can generally have a rough estimation of when it was. How many years ago it was anyway. Generally you can work out how many years ago it was. But in terms of the exact date, that can be difficult. And then you say estimate. And if people say it's still too difficult, we say, okay, pick a date now and stick to that date. From now going forward, obviously the past zakat you still have to work out. But from now going forward, pick one date. Most people pick Ramadan. Yeah, so they want to pay in Ramadan. Pick that date and stick to that now moving forward.
What are the rulings on people delaying their zakat just to pay in Ramadan?
No, so that shouldn't be done. So for example,
people tend to do that.
yes, so this is why we say that even if your zakat date is, for example, and this comes to the point of there are people who are in need throughout the year. I know we want to give in Ramadan, but it might even be more rewardable to give at a different time of the year when your zakat date actually is. Let's say it's in Rabi al-Awwal or in Muharram, for example, and you give it then. Inshallah, and some families benefit from it and people take from it. So we shouldn't just set Ramadan, although most people do, and that's what most people have set for themselves. But as we've seen here, the majority of people don't have a date. So now if you're going to set a date, I would say pick a date, but again, most of you will say Ramadan. Yeah. But anyway, so that's the point. So like we said, if now on this graph you can see that on my zakat anniversary date, I'm below the nisab. So I only have, let's say, 50 quid. Yeah, do I have to give zakat? No zakat due. Yeah, because I'm below the nisab. Technically speaking, yeah, obviously this is a case-by-case scenario. You actually look at what the person owns. But technically speaking, if you are below the nisab, you are entitled to zakat. Yeah? So if you are below the nisab, you are actually entitled to zakat, technically speaking. However, of course, some people might be getting their wages a bit later, or they might have some debts or whatever, so you wouldn't give them the zakat. So in terms of our policy, we wouldn't just give it to anybody who says we're below the nisab.
So what about, for example, say you got your first £285 on your first job, first salary, but say you're getting that, and that's gone out, there's expenses there. Obviously you've got expenses.
Yes.
Whether you're living at home or not, you still have expenses. So how would you work out, obviously you've gone over it, but now you've got expenses, so what would you do?
Yeah, so what we're saying is the first time you get that 280 or whatever pounds it was, then you don't pay zakat until 1 year passes on that date.
Right.
So 1 whole year passes on that date, whatever you have. If you're above the zakat, if the nisab, you give it. If you're not, you don't. Right? Okay, so the main part of the presentation now is looking at what are zakatable assets. So just as a quick kind of question, what do you think zakatable assets are?
Gold,
So gold, okay.
Silver.
cash,
Silver,
money,
cash,
electronic or otherwise.
okay, yeah. Anything else?
Property.
Stock,
Property,
Stock,
livestock.
shares, livestock, mashallah, camels and goats and whatnot.
shares, land, property.
Land,
If you have a
property,
shop, the stock you have in the shop.
the shop, yeah, if you have a shop.
Shares.
Okay, all of these are actually zakatable assets. We're going to go through them inshallah.
So if you own a business, all the assets in the business.
So yeah, certain assets will be zakatable, certain won't be. We'll go through them inshallah. It'll only take about 2 hours only. Okay, so as mentioned, gold and silver. Cash and money owed to you. Business assets. Investments and shares and pensions and whatnot. And livestock and agricultural produce. And we'll go through each one of these inshallah. Okay, so the first one, gold and silver. Now the scholars have differed in terms of is zakat due on gold and silver. So the Hanafi view is that gold and silver, whichever form it's in, is subject to zakat. Okay, even if they're worn or stored. And they have evidences, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said to the Sahabi that came, that who had bangles on of gold, that these will be in the fire if zakat isn't given on them. Yeah, so there is evidence for that. So they say whatever it's used for, the zakat is due on gold and silver. The other schools, they said it's not due on gold and silver if gold and silver are used as personal items. Okay, because there's no zakat due on personal items. If I've got a car, I don't have to pay zakat on it. I don't have to pay zakat on my clothes, on my watch, if it's of course it's not silver. On these things, there's no zakat due on personal items. So they said that the jewelry that a sister wears, this is just like a personal item. If she wears a necklace regularly or bangles or whatnot, so therefore there's no zakat due on it. So there is this difference of opinion amongst the scholars. The safest view is of course the view of the Hanafi scholars, where zakat is due on the gold and silver. And the question is, how do I even work out now how to pay zakat on gold and silver? Yeah, this is a common question. So sister says, how do I know how much zakat I have to pay on the gold and silver? What we said was, what was the nisab of the gold? Can anyone remember how many grams?
87.4.
87.48. So if a sister has gold which is more than 87.48 grams, yes, you've got gold which is more than 87.48 grams, now that gold is subject to zakat. Okay, the gold is now subject to zakat. So what would they do? They would find out how many grams of gold they have. And this is very important because we've been running workshops specifically for sisters. Yes, we have alimas who have been doing specific workshops for sisters. And they found that over 90% of the sisters attending were unaware of a lot of these issues when it comes to zakat. Yeah, so it's very important that even brothers go back and inform their sisters and or wives and spouses, etc., how it works when it comes to zakat for gold and silver. So they would find out how many grams they've got. Yeah, how many grams of gold. And if it's more than 87.48 grams, then it's zakatable. And they have to find out what? They have to find out the scrap gold value. What do we mean by scrap gold value? The value of the gold if they were to sell it that day. Okay? So if I was to go to a jeweler and sell it, what's the value of this gold? And then they would give 2.5% on that. Okay?
So does that scrap gold value equate to like you checking online what's the value of gold?
No, see this is the problem. So when you go online and you just type it in Google, it'll give you the new gold value
So how do
per
you,
gram. So what you do is there's a website called gold-trader.co.uk and they give you the scrap gold value. Yeah, or you can go to a jeweler and the jeweler will tell you. Okay, so that's with regards to gold and silver, yes? You alright with that? Okay, cash. So cash is fully subject to zakat. Yeah, so all the cash you have on your zakat anniversary, you've got a few £1,000 in one account. I had a brother call up today on the hotline. He said, look, I've got this much money in one account, I've got this much money in my business account, I've got some rupees and whatnot, mashallah, money all over the place. Yeah, what do I do? So you have to add it all up. All of it's zakatable. You know, as I mentioned, I just came back from Egypt. Yeah, I came back on Friday. My zakat anniversary date was yesterday, Saturday. And I still had Junays on me, the Egyptian pound. Yeah, so that had to be included in my zakat calculation. So all zakat, wherever you've got it, mashallah, people store zakat under the beds and everywhere these days, yeah, to get away from the tax man. All of that zakat is due. Yeah, all of that cash, zakat is due on it. And when it comes to interest, people have the question, what do I do with the interest I have? Any interest you have should be given straight in sadaqah, in charity. And you don't expect any reward for it. Yeah, because this is filthy money, this is money which is haram, so you just get rid of it as soon as you can, you give it in charity without expecting any reward. Yes, I'll just get you to pass this around. And lastly, certain investments which we're going to look at. Okay? So that's the situation with regards to cash. So far what have we looked at in terms of zakatable assets? Sure
Money, silver, cash, silver, gold.
Cash, silver, gold. Yeah, gold and silver and cash. 2 so far, yes? Gold and silver come under the same category, and cash. So they're the zakatable assets so far. So you will check on your zakat anniversary date. The brothers obviously, they shouldn't have any gold chains or whatnot. But in terms of, gold bricks and whatnot, some people have these things. You get the value of these. So you've got your gold, you've got your cash. You would add all that together. Different currencies, again, you would add it all together. The next thing, loans advance with the hope of repayment. So I loaned somebody £1,000. Okay, we've agreed he's going to give it back to me in 6 months' time. And I've got no reason to doubt. He's a brother I know, mashallah. He's going to give it back to me. So now this £1,000 is included in my zakatable assets. So it's like it's like I've got that cash. Yeah, because that's mine. He's just got it. I can technically go Islamically and ask him for it. Yeah, because it's mine. So that would be included. However, loans which are advanced without any hope of repayment. So for example, I lend Abid some money. And mashallah, he takes £1,000 and I don't see him now for the next 9 months, 10 months. He disappeared. Yeah, and I've got no hope now. I don't know where he's gone, phone's off, left the country, just over this £1,000. Yeah, now what do I do? Now this £1,000, yeah, this is a loan which is advanced without any hope of repayment. There's no zakat due on this. Now you wouldn't have to include that £1,000 because there's no hope of getting that back. You don't know where he's gone, etc.
So when do you decide that time comes?
So if you're on your zakat anniversary, you're still confident that you'll get it back, then you'd include it. If you think, no, I'm not going to get it back, then you don't include it. But once, let's say you do receive it later on, then you would pay the zakat on it.
Just once?
Just once.
And then,
Now what about Nabil? He has no intention of returning the money. He can pay you the zakat.
We'll take him to court. Try and find it. So we're going to come on to it.
sorry, before you go on, so even though when you lend somebody some money and you intended it to be a loan, and they intended it to be a long work, and now it's like 10 years have gone past, and you haven't had it back, and you can't really see any sign.
Yeah.
So
That's
as
right.
it actually,
Yeah. So you say you don't forget that. That wouldn't be included in your zakat.
but what I'm saying is, at what stage do you decide? Because if you start off by starting to pay for that money, pay the card on it, you can be 5 years down the line and you still start there thinking, well, I'm never going to get it back. But you've been paying. So when do you decide, what I'm trying to say is, when do you decide that I'm not going to get this back? How do you decide that?
So you've been paying for a number of years, thinking that you'll
Then
get it
know,
back.
well, I'm still here and I paid. Well, I lent somebody some money 10 years ago now.
Yeah. And you
So initially I started to pay,
pay it,
and then I stopped.
thinking that you're not going to get it back.
Well, yeah, but then you still have that doubt in your mind, don't you?
No, so what you'd say is that as you did, you think, I'm not going to get it back, so I've stopped. If you then later on do get it back, and that's like an individual judgment that you'd make. Yeah, so that wouldn't be, for example, there's no kind of set parameter on that. You would be in the best position to judge, do you think you're going to get that back or not? If at that certain point you think, you know what, I've been doing this for a few years, I don't think I'm going to get this back, then you'd stop from that point.
What if when you lent the money, it was always going to be for a long period? You mentioned months, like you lent somebody money for 6 months,
Yeah.
and you get it back, so fine, and then you pay the card that year. But if you lent somebody some money and it was always going to be for a long time, so quite a few years,
Yes.
what then?
So here there's two opinions. One opinion is that you would pay zakat every year. Yeah, on that money. So you would consider that as your own cash is there, and you would pay it every year. The other opinion is that you would only pay it once you actually acquired that cash back. So you wouldn't pay it for the years that you've missed. You would wait until you got that cash, and then you would pay it on it.
But I always thought that the whole idea of lending somebody money was that so that you haven't got money stored away that's not benefiting anyone. So if somebody is using your money, actually using it, not that they put it in their bank and they sat there. So is that not in a better position to be in, rather than holding money?
No, definitely, yeah.
You lend somebody some money so that they buy a house or whatever.
100%. Yes.
So would you still be paying zakat on that even though they're using it, and it's over a long period of time?
So yes, so here what that
Because you can't pay it back.
So your question
They're
is.
not in they haven't got the ability to pay it back yet. They always intend to, but it's 10 years. 10 years have gone past, say, and they still haven't paid it back because they say I can't have got the money.
So then you just pay as soon as you got that back. Yeah, you just as soon as you then acquired that money, you pay the zakat on it. Yeah.
Just to clarify, so if I want to change the culprit, so brother Asif, I've given him £1,000, I understand the situation, I know I'm not going to get it back now. 5 years go by, he gives me the £1,000 back after 5 years. So am I paying the previous 5 years zakat?
This is what I said, there's two opinions on this.
Right.
Yes, so even within the Hanafi method there's two opinions that you would pay it back for all 5 years. Yes, you would pay for all 5 years. The other opinion is, and this is even the opinion of the Shafi'i method, that it's only given once you receive it back. Yeah, once you receive it back.
Actually, one more. What about the Qazi Hasna which you give to like mosque? Sometimes you give money to mosque and says it's Qazi Hasna. Yeah. So are you paying zakat on that as well? Because you don't know when you're going to be needing that money, or there's no agreement for the time period.
So if you've got every reason to believe that you will get it back, then the zakat will be paid on it. Outstanding invoices for the sale of personal items. Okay, so this is a receivable, a weak receivable. There's no zakat on that. Obviously, as we said, because it's a personal item. Wages, fees, remuneration of services, mahar owed to the wife, and inheritance shares. On all of these, yes, there's no zakat due unless or until you actually receive it. Okay, so let's say a sister, mashallah, the brother got married, and he had a bit of josh, and he said, I'm going to give you 10 grand mahar. Yeah, mashallah. And then afterwards he thought, how am I supposed to do this? Yeah, so 10 years go by, he's still not given a penny. Which is, subhanallah, in the masjid we get this all the time. Somebody agrees to give mahar and then doesn't give any mahar, and they're getting divorced, and now what? But the point is what? That he's agreed that I'm going to give this mahar. Now the sister technically this is due to her, £10,000. Does she have to pay zakat on it? She doesn't have to pay zakat on it until she receives that money. Okay, until she receives that mahar. Then she would pay zakat on it. And same with inheritance, yes, the same principle. Okay, so we've looked at here gold, silver, cash, money owed to you. Okay, these you'd go through your calculation, you look at all of these things, you write them down. The next thing is what business assets?
Before you go on, what about precious metals? Like nowadays people have platinum jewellery and
Yeah, so none of these are zakatable. Diamonds,
no
platinum,
matter what value or
no matter what value. Nothing at all. No zakat due on it at all. Unless of course it was purchased with the intention to sell.
So people could avoid paying zakat, can't they, by investing in those sort of metals?
If they really wanted to.
you wouldn't get that return on them though like you do on gold though.
No, what I mean is to avoid. I mean,
Yeah, but your
Well,
return
then
will
they
make up
could
for
give
it.
them to the
Well,
son
it's not
of
that, to avoid
It's expensive, isn't it?
Okay, business assets. An asset purchased to resell becomes a zakatable business asset. Okay, this is the key point. When you purchase something with the intention to resell it, it becomes what? A zakatable, a business asset. Yeah, in terms of the Sharia. So even if you're not got a sole trader, limited company, any of these things, but you're just, you thought, actually, these phones are going cheap. I'll buy the phone or sell it on eBay. Now, on your Zakat anniversary, this hotline, it doesn't stop now. SubhanAllah, there's 4 of us on this hotline, and we all had workshops after the Dhuhr. Yeah, so in different mosques. And in the space of an hour and 30 minutes, there was something like 25 different calls. Obviously they were all missed because none of us could answer them. Even now, I don't know where the other brothers are. They're supposed to be answering. Okay, so as we said, an asset purchased to resell becomes zakatable.
What if you purchase something and your intention's not quite clear and might not be for months or years? So, for example, a car, and you're not sure, you're undecided genuinely, and you might not make that decision for a while. But whether you're going to keep it or sell, or when you're going to sell.
Allahu A'lam, I would say that this you just treat as a personal item. So you don't give any zakat on it. So you've purchased it, obviously you're looking at keeping it as a car. So here it's not specifically bought with the intention to resell. Yeah, if it's specifically bought with the intention to resell, then you say it's a business asset. So any business has to look at the following items: cash, receivables, stock, raw materials, etc. So you could have, for example, somebody owns a takeaway. Yeah, Zakat anniversary date comes. So he has to give zakat on all the cash that he has, in terms of in the tills, in the business account, whatnot. He also has to give zakat on, the chicken and the cans and the drinks and all the stock that he has. Similarly, a pharmacist, as the brother mentioned before. The pharmacist will do what? So we have in Shida a brother who's got 3 pharmacies. Now he never knew this before. He said, what? Telling me I have to pay zakat on all this stock. And he was saying, this is difficult, I'm supposed to work out the zakat, it's a lot of money. And whatnot. I said, don't worry, you have 3 pharmacies, man. You've got plenty of money. So, the money, so he would then what? He would do a stock count. And he only has to estimate. He doesn't have to, mashallah, start counting every single thing on the shelf. Give a rough estimate. I was speaking to one of our teachers, Sheikh Kahlan, and he was saying that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, what would they do? He would send one companion to a whole village and say, go and calculate the zakat of that village. And this companion would go and he would look at, the trees, he would look at the land, he would look at the animals, and he would estimate, I think this is going to produce this, I think this is going to produce that, I think this is about that much. Rough estimate. To the best of your ability is what you have to do. Yeah, and you do that with your stock, and then again you include that in your zakatable assets. Yeah. The following are not included, so goodwill, intangible assets, property. So the property, it's a common question a brother had when it came to property. He said that, do I have to give zakat on, the premises that I'm using? So he doesn't have to give zakat on that, okay, on that property.
what if you own a second home?
We're coming on to that right now.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, the next one, the second home. So quickly here, it all comes down to what intention. Just conscious of time. it all comes down to intention. If you buy it with the intention to sell, then zakat is due on the entire asset value. If it wasn't bought with the intention to sell, then there's no zakat due unless it produces some kind of surplus income. Coming to the property, as the brother mentioned, okay, so obviously there's no zakat due on the house in which you live. Okay, so you don't have to give any zakat on the value of the house in which you live. Nor on a house that you own that you are renting out. So some, like the brother mentioned, you've got a second home. Okay, you're renting it out. You get £600 a month rent. Okay, you don't have to give zakat on that rent. What you have to give zakat on is the surplus rent you have on your zakat anniversary day. What does that mean? That means that normally when you're getting your £600, it comes in every month, you're spending some of it goes here, there, and the rest gets added to your other cash. On your zakat anniversary date, how much of that do you have? Yeah, simply, and then you add that to it. The only time you have to give zakat on the value of the property is when you bought the property with the intention to sell it. So if you bought a property for £100,000 with the intention to sell that property, now that whole the market value, you find out what is the market value on your zakat anniversary day. So let's say £110,000, you would give 2.5% on that. Yeah, because now it's become something that you bought with the intention to sell. Okay, shares. So this is where it gets a bit. When it comes to shares and pensions and whatnot.
Can I ask just two questions? On the business assets, is it only on your halal stock? Because like some people might have off licenses, etc., so they might calculate.
Yeah, the ulama did discuss this. And you find that many of them say that even if it's stock, yes. So you would still have to give zakat on it. You would still have to give zakat on it. Obviously they were saying you shouldn't have these things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Would you pay zakat on the cost of the stock or the resale?
The resale. So the price you expect to sell it for. Yeah. Even though you might sell it for a little bit less, a little bit more, but as long as you made a fair estimation of what you think. Like for example, I had a brother who at one of the workshops, he says I buy and sell cars. Even sisters, yeah. So sisters, for example, they have this, they make jilbabs and whatnot. They would have to give, zakat on the stock that they have, the threads, the buttons, all of these different things. The brother, he came, he said, look, I buy and sell cars. This is what I do. He goes, I never had a clue that I had to give zakat on it. Because at the moment I've got 6 cars that are up for sale. Yeah, different prices, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. Do I have to give zakat on that? So he has to give zakat on, what does he expect to sell them for? Like I said, he might sell it for a bit more, a bit less, but roughly what does he expect to sell it for? And that's what he would give the zakat on.
What if you don't have the money?
Yeah, so here, so the ulama, they talked about a person who, for example, he bought a house, the house was 110 grand, where is he going to get 2.5% from? So here they said that you got a few options. One is that you try to do it as much as you can as time goes by. The other is that you wait until you actually sell that product and then you give it on there, because then the money will have come in. But you try to do what you can. Okay, shares. So shares, there are 2 types of people who invest in shares. You get one who is just buying and selling shares, yeah? This is his job. He's like a, what do you call them people?
Trader.
Stock trader, yeah, something like that. And this is what he does. He just wants to buy, as soon as it goes up a bit, he sells it. This person has to give zakat on the entire value, yeah, entire holding, the entire value of the holding. Okay, so if it's £10,000, you would have to give zakat on £10,000, 2.5%. Then you get somebody who has a long-term investment. So he buys shares, why? As a long-term investment. So here now, there's a difference of opinion. We have the Al-Qalam Sharia panel opinion, and then you've got the World Fiqh Council who've got a different opinion. So here, what the Al-Qalam Sharia panel said, what is shares? When you buy shares, what are you doing? You're buying ownership in that company. It might be a minute percentage, but you're actually buying ownership in that company. When you buy shares in BT, for example, you've got ownership in BT. Now BT, as a business, will have assets that are zakatable. Yes? So BT will have assets that are zakatable. They'll have cash, they'll have different things that are zakatable. So now, zakat is due on those zakatable assets. So this is why Al-Qalam said that you would have to give zakat on your proportionate ownership of the zakatable assets of the company in which you've invested. I think that's what everybody's talking about. Basically saying what? I've got shares, in BT. Yes, now BT, they have zakatable assets, they have cash, for example. Now, obviously I have ownership on that cash, yeah, whatever minute percentage it is. I have to give zakat on my proportionate ownership. Now, this is difficult, yeah, because you're having to work out the zakatable assets of BT. Yes, we had some training, we had an accountant come in and go through, balance sheets of these companies, and it's difficult. You can't, expect everybody to start doing that, figuring out what is a zakatable asset on this balance sheet. So what we said is that there's a 40% proxy. When you look at the majority of these companies that we looked at, you will find that none of them have above 40%. These major kind of corporations we're talking about when it comes to these shares have above 40% zakatable assets. Okay, so therefore, let's say you have £10,000 shares. You take 40% of that, yes, £4,000, and you would give 2.5% on that. Okay, 2.5% of that. If you've not got shares, just forget it. You can forget about this. It's too much. And of course, the other opinion is what? The other opinion is no. You only give zakat on the dividends. Okay? So my teacher, Sheikh Kailan, he says no. He says, I don't believe that you have to give zakat on these shares. I believe you only have to give zakat on the dividends that you get from those shares. Okay, pensions, like I said, we have guides on all of these, so more details can be found on there, inshallah. Pensions, very quickly.
Well,
National insurance contribution.
if you sell those shares, you get the value.
Yes.
So whenever I don't have any shares now, but when I had them in the past, I used to work out what the value is,
Yeah.
and then treat that as cash and just work out the zakat on it.
Yes, exactly.
But if you're saying only 40%, then that's going to be less.
Oh, no. So sorry. So I'm saying, 40, because you only have to give zakat on zakatable assets.
Right.
So
So you can't treat it like cash.
Yeah, no, because that business might have, liabilities, different things. I mean, obviously that's much safer in terms of you've gone well above.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about
Safer
maybe,
now.
paying less. But you only have to give it on the zakatable assets of that company. National insurance contributions that we all make, there's no zakat due on that. So there are two main types of pensions that people have. You have the defined benefit scheme and you have the defined contribution scheme. Quickly, just briefly, the defined benefit scheme is the what's used in the public sector. Okay, so yeah, so the teachers and nurses and police officers and whatnot, they have this defined benefit scheme. Now there's no zakat due on that. Whereas when it comes to the defined contribution scheme, here, again, this is areas where scholars have differed. These are all contemporary issues. You can't open the books of fiqh and say, what does it say about pensions? There was no pensions at the time of Prophet ﷺ. There was no pensions at the time of the madhahib, the four madhabs. So these are all contemporary issues, and you will find there's difference of opinion in all of them. But here, Mufti Faraz, who's looked at pensions from the NZF point of view, he spent 6 months studying pensions and speaking to professionals in this area and whatnot. And these are the findings that he came with. He said that the defined contribution scheme, you actually have ownership. You've got what's known as the leak. You decide. You've appointed an agent. You can decide where the contributions, the investments are made, etc. Therefore, zakat is due on it. Again, the other opinion is no. Zakat is only due on this fund once it's acquired. So once you retire and you get the money, that's when zakat's due on it. So there is two opinions on that point. Okay, we'll just skip this completely, because I'm sure there's no farmers here.
Land.
Okay, land. So what's the concept when it comes to land? On land that you have for example, let's say somebody's got land in Pakistan, there's no zakat due on that land. It's only due if it's producing certain types of crops, vegetables, etc. Then there would be zakat due on it. But in terms of just the land, a lot of people I've got land in Pakistan, it's just lying there, or Bangladesh or whatever. It's not used. Is any zakat due on that? No zakat is due on that. The only time zakat becomes due on that is if he decides that he wants to sell it.
What if you buy it with intention to sell it?
Then there's zakat due. And then zakat's due. Yeah.
But the money we get, like or rent we get from, that's zakatable?
Yes.
All that.
The rent, yes. The rent would be, as another income.
So, in terms of the agricultural land we're talking about, now, not residential plots or...
Even plots, same principle. So let's say you've got a plot in whatever, a plot of land. There's no zakat due on it. The only time zakat becomes due is if you decide that actually no, I want to sell this now. Then now it becomes an asset that you want to sell. So then zakat will become due on it. Okay, so here we've done what? We've gone through all the zakatable assets. Yeah, so you've got that booklet, you would fill that in. You would say, right, these are my zakatable, this is how much cash I've got, this is if I've got any business assets, any stock, any whatnot, gold, silver. You'd add all of that up. That will give you a figure now, yeah? Yeah, so let's say the figure is £5,000, £10,000, whatever it is. Now, the next thing we want to do is what? Deduct the liabilities. Okay, so what are deductible liabilities? What can I deduct from that figure? So debts and liabilities that are due or outstanding for repayment on the day of one's zakat anniversary are deductible. So you've got, your zakat anniversary is the 15th of Ramadan, yeah, and you've got 3 months outstanding electricity bill. You've got outstanding council tax. You've got, outstanding bills, yeah, that are there. You can deduct them. Yeah, so let's say it's £400 here, £300 there, £500 there. You add all of that together, and that can be deducted. However, expenses for future payments, yeah, which aren't incurred, cannot be deducted. Okay, so let's say future consumption, 3 months down the line, you can't deduct that. Only deduct what's outstanding or what's being used. Long-term debt. So here again, this is an area where scholars have different.
Just ask a question on that. So if you've got, say it's 15th, but you got and you got money going out after the 15th, which is due, say it's direct debits or whatever, as part of your expenses from that money, then do you include that?
No, you can deduct it.
You can deduct it.
Yeah, because it's due.
Even if it's just within.
Even if it's going to be paid after, but it's due, it's for consumption that's already taken place. Is that we consider outstanding?
So when you say it's due, if it's due if your anniversary date is the 15th of Ramadan, and your next direct debit is due on the 25th of Ramadan, it's not due then, is it? It's not due to be paid until that date comes up.
But it's part of your expenses, isn't it?
You've got an invoice 2 weeks beforehand.
So what? Yeah. So that's what I understand is that, for example, you've used a certain service, but the payment's coming out, a bit later.
Yeah.
But because that's already been used, that's you've already, it's outstanding. Even though it's due a little bit later, it's still outstanding. If it's something that's been you've utilised. For long-term debt. Okay. So again, here scholars differ when it comes to long-term debt. Why did they discuss this point? They said that if you say that you can deduct long-term debts, then in this country nobody's paying the debt. Because majority of people have got mortgages. Mortgage is a long-term debt, £100,000, £150,000. Yeah, and we're not going into the halal haram of it now. But the reality is most people have a mortgage. Okay, so now if you say you can deduct this £100,000, nobody's going to be paying zakat. So here there are two kind of approaches that they've taken. One is that you just don't deduct it at all. Okay, so you don't consider it as something that is deductible. The other opinion is that you can deduct the forthcoming 12 months non-interest payments. Okay, so let's say your non-interest payments are £500. Yeah, so over a year that would be how much?
6,000.
6,000. Some people are still awake. 6,000. Yes, you can deduct 6,000. Yeah, if you really need to. Yeah, and as they mentioned here, it should only be done if necessary.
I've also previously heard on this point about mortgages that you deduct what you would pay for that month, for example, rather than the full year, because obviously 6,000 is quite a lot. It might also then put you down below the nisab.
For a lot of people they wouldn't pay. That's why even they say that
Just don't.
So that's it. So we've gone through now, very hopefully simply, the zakatable assets, liabilities. That leaves us with our net zakat figure. And if it's above the nisab, the silver nisab, which is how much?
285.
Let's get up now.
It's in your book, man.
We'll say 275, 280, 265. Yeah, today. Obviously, this can change on a daily basis. You should check. If it's above 265, then zakat is due.
285.
Yeah. Okay, the last thing, just before we finish, recipients of zakat and where zakat should be given. Okay, so how many categories are mentioned in Surah At-Tawbah? Anybody know?
9.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions
Eight.
in the Sadaqatu?
8.
8. Yeah? 8 categories are mentioned. Who are entitled to receive zakat. And of course there's a lot of discussion about, how does this apply today, who's considered fuqara, who's considered miskeen, and can it be given to mu'allafat qulubihim, those whose hearts are inclined to Islam, the non-Muslims. All of these things there's a lot of discussion on. Generally speaking, in this country or even abroad, we give it to the fuqara and the miskeen. Yeah, and as we said, who is considered fuqara and miskeen? This is a problem where, even although the NZF opinion, they follow the Hanafi madhab on this issue, that anybody below the nisab, is now considered fuqara and miskeen. The problem with that, and this is the problem I have with that, is that you could have somebody who is above the nisab, but still is considered any poor. So somebody could have £280 on their zakat anniversary date, but for all intents and purposes, they're still not, they're still struggling. They're hand to mouth. Yeah, so you have, for example, a sister called, she's got 4 children. Okay, she's getting benefits. She is getting benefits and whatnot, but she's struggling to live. Yeah, so are we saying that you can't support this person with your zakat because technically speaking she has above £265? Again, a lot of ulama are discussing and debating this point. And there's room for discussion on it. For our kind of all intents and purposes, is what generally happens is we tend to send money back home. This is what's been the normal protocol, of Muslims in the UK. So what we've done is we've collected the zakat and we sent it back home and they've distributed it. Now, generally speaking, when you look at the classical fiqh opinion, the classical opinion is that zakat should be distributed in the country in which it's been collected from. So for example, when the Prophet ﷺ, he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, and he said, take from their rich and give to their poor. Collect zakat from their rich and give to their poor. So ulama, based on this, they said that zakat should be distributed in the locality from which it's collected. Now when Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he was still the governor of Yemen, when Umar was the Khalifa, so many years later, Umar's the Khalifa, and Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he's collected zakat, he's distributed it in Yemen. Then he sends it to Umar. The zakat comes to Umar, and Umar says, what's going on here? Why is he sending zakat from Yemen? Take it back. He said, this is for the people of Yemen. So the zakat went back to Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal said, tell Umar that I've already distributed it to the people in Yemen, and this is what's left. This is surplus. So when it went back to Umar and he was told that it's surplus, then Umar accepted it. Then he said, okay, we can take this zakat. So again, from this, the ulama have said, and the evidence produced is what? Is that zakat should first and foremost be given to those who are eligible in your country or your area. And of course, if there's a need abroad, nobody's saying you can't give it abroad. But the point is, you shouldn't neglect those in your locality. Now there are, of course, Muslims who are entitled to zakat in this country. Now, I'm not saying you give to NZF. I'm saying that you should give a portion of your zakat, whether it's through a local organization, a local charity, somebody you trust, to go and distribute it to the needy Muslims in your community. It's no good that we have Muslims on our doorsteps that are refugees, that don't have anything, that are struggling, and we're not looking after them. Then we have a duty to look after them. However, of course, we have a greater duty to our relatives. They have greater right upon us. So if you have relatives abroad, for example, you would give zakat to them first and foremost. And of course you can divide it and give some locally, etc. Sorry, you didn't.
You answered it, because I was going to say relatives.
Relatives, yeah.
Just say, if you are helping a relative, like a sadaqah, could you count that as zakat or?
No. So number one is zakat. Number one, it has to be the intention.
So
this is
the intention. So,
Yeah.
but you could change it from next year and say, I'm going to do it as zakat.
Yes, but as long as they're zakat eligible.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah? So as long as they are eligible to receive zakat.
Somebody was asking me just yesterday about whether a family in Pakistan, who husband, wife, I think 3 children, struggling to make ends meet, but the husband works, he earns the money, and this is probably for a lot of cases in Pakistan where even though they're working, they're just about managing. not to take Theresa May's just about managing, but so would I mean a lot of people would fall into that category, and they would argue that my auntie was arguing, no, that we shouldn't give it to them because she's got a husband working, and we don't know what their means are really, even though they've requested some help. So do we take it that they've asked and we should give because they feel that they should be received zakat?
Yes, this is difficult. I mean, all of these are kind of, you take it case by case. But like you said, if somebody's working and they've got some kind of income, and then you've got somebody there who's not got any means of work or hasn't got a regular income, who would you give it to? Generally speaking, you'd give it to the one who hasn't got that source of income or that regular means of income. But like you said, and this is the issue I generally have with this concept of below the nisab, because as you mentioned, somebody might be working, but they're still struggling. They've got kids, they have to buy their kids things. The little bit of money they're making is not enough. Especially I'm talking about third world countries where you have people working in these villages and whatnot, and they struggle. In this country, obviously, it's a bit different. If somebody's working, then generally speaking, they're going to be on a regular basis above the nisab, so you wouldn't tend to generally give them zakat. Even with NZF, when it comes to them distributing their zakat, it's generally given to, of course, those who, number one, are below the nisab, but they don't have work, they don't have a regular source of income.
I mean, basically what I want to kind of clarify is somebody who's working, for example in Pakistan, and I get these questions asked a lot from family members, which is they're working, husband's working, but they're struggling and they're not, it's difficult, they borrowed money, they've got debts, they haven't got their own house, they're paying rent, etc., etc. Should we give it to them?
Yeah, so for example, like you're saying, they've got debts, they've not got their own house, they're struggling. I mean, this is a judgment that you would make. You could take the benchmark of are they below the nisab, so are they below £265? If they are, then the clear Hanafi opinion is yes.
So the £265 is not English money, but I mean you just equivalent.
Yeah, because silver, whatever.
Yeah.
But you were saying that even if they're above it, you could still potentially give it as well, or is that an
Yeah.
opinion?
This is, I mean, it's not like a,
This is Ustadh's
opinion, yeah. I mean, I was discussing with Sheikh Hassan Qadi, and this is the opinion he adopts in America. He was saying that, I tell people in my masjid that, and even in America, there might even be people working, but for all intents and purposes, for our standard in America, they're considered poor. Yeah, so he says, I wouldn't even go by this nisab and no nisab. I would say that if this person, from general kind of the urf of the community, this person is below the standard of living of what we would expect normal people to live at, I would say that it's permissible to give zakat. But you won't find that amongst the general kind of fiqh councils. They haven't said that yet. I believe they will. A time will come when they'll say that actually, this is arbitrary. It's £265. And what you're saying, if somebody's got 270 and 260, and £10 difference, now you're saying one can receive zakat and one can't.
If you've given more zakat than you are due, does that automatically get accepted as sadaqah?
Yeah, so here, this is, inshallah, this will be rewarded. So you've fulfilled your obligation of zakat, and you've given extra, and inshallah, Allah will reward that.
So one could actually, provided it's not going to a mosque or something, so you could be giving something you're giving as sadaqah now, you could decide, okay, I'm going to count it as zakat. And then it's a fail-safe so that you make sure you're not underpaying.
Yeah, you could do that as long as you're making sure that it's going to a zakat eligible. Yeah, so it's going to something which like now, even this whole issue of can you give zakat to orphanages, to wells, to hospitals. This is, I know charities that are using the zakat for these projects. So they use it, and the classical opinion is it can't be used for these projects. But they will use it for a water well, they will use it for a hospital. Now the problem with that is that people who are not zakat eligible will be using those things. So they could be, so for example, one case was that the doctor's fees were being paid at a hospital through zakat money. Now zakat money is supposed to be, okay, if you're using it in a hospital for the medicine of those who can't afford it, yeah, you can use zakat for that. But not just for, to run the electricity there or to do this and that. So, I mean, like I said, even these issues now, you're seeing there's a lot of change. When times change, when circumstances change, you find that even the fiqh has to adapt. You can't be rigid as well. So, there is leeway, there is scope.
So providing basic necessities like a water pump, medical supplies, etc. You couldn't.
So according to the Hanafi opinion, you can't use it for those things.
But orphans are okay.
Orphans are okay, but because
Orphanage, not.
even here they say with the orphanage, depending on what the money is going to be used for. Yeah, what's the money actually used
Obviously,
for?
there's
Education,
it has
food.
expenses, isn't it? So
Yes. So here, this is why they would say that.
Wages.
Generally, what is the general concept? The general concept or principle when it comes to
Wages
zakat
be fine
is that
because
zakat is given
people
to
who
the
collect zakat
recipient,
can give.
and that recipient does whatever they want with it. It's not for us to decide how a recipient uses what's their right. That money, that zakat that I have to give, is not mine anymore. That's not my right. I don't have any say. I have to give it in zakat, but it has to be given to the recipient. The recipient generally is supposed to be allowed, to choose where they use that zakat. That's their wealth. And this is a problem that we do find now, is where it's being dictated to them where the zakat is used. Now, of course, there is instances where it's permissible to give to somebody, let's say food. If you know this person is going to waste the money, you know his character, he's a family member, he's zakat eligible, but he's just going to blow the money on whatever, let's say drugs or this or that. Then you can say, I'm going to provide him with food, with clothing, with whatever. I'm not going to give him the money. But the general principle is that actually the zakat is given to the individual, and they use the zakat as they please.
what about giving it to local food bank? Because they're going to be obviously providing food for.
The only problem with giving to local food bank is that you have to be able to determine that are the people receiving that zakat eligible. Because in some of these cases it might not be zakat eligible. Like I had a sister come to our food bank, not a sister, sorry, it's a non-Muslim. Come to our food bank. She works, she's got a job and whatnot, she's got a house, but she still says that I'm struggling to buy food for my kids and whatnot. My income is not enough, and this is a non-Muslim. So here with the food banks, you have to be careful.
What if you pay for somebody's operation or something, or treatment?
If there's zakat eligible, yes. So you can do that. Again, if you believe that they're not going to use the money wisely or whatnot, and you want to pay for that treatment that they need. But generally, again, you would say that it's better to give it to them.
If you spend the money on that, say, operation or treatment, then later on, could you say, I want to take it out of my zakat, or do you have to make that decision beforehand?
So you spend money on an operation.
Somebody's treatment, yeah.
Somebody's treatment, and then after you say that you're no. Zakat, the intention has to be before.
Right.
Before it's given.
So, Ustadh, do you want to just list the 8 categories so that people will know exactly? Obviously, I know you said the poor and needy, but there's there's other projects as well as the other.
Yeah, so this is the problem that we have. When you look at the other categories, so the poor, the masakin, what's the difference between poor and miskin? The scholars have discussed and debated. The fi sabilillah, fi riqab is the slave. Fi sabilillah, obviously, and this is now another issue where, what does fi sabilillah mean? Okay, fi sabilillah traditionally meant what?
Jihad.
This is a masjid, talking about jihad. No, yes, of course, it meant jihad, yes? Traditionally, that was the concept, that it would be given to those in jihad. Now, many of the organizations, ulama, scholars today say fi sabilillah is much wider. What is fi sabilillah today? They say dawah organizations fi sabilillah. Like Zakir Naik, he comes on and he says you can give zakat to Peace TV. Yeah, because we are doing dawah, this is fi sabilillah. So now you see the category of fi sabilillah is disputed and differed over, but it's much wider than what it traditionally was. Those in debt, okay, so somebody who's in debt, mu'allafatu qulubihim, so somebody whose heart is inclined to Islam. Again, this is an area where scholars are different. What does that mean? Can you give it to a non-Muslim? I was speaking to Sheikh Juday. Sheikh Juday is a scholar from Leeds. He's a part of the European Fatwa Council. And his opinion was that it can be given to non-Muslims. So he was saying that you have poor non-Muslims, and when you give zakat to them, are you not now bringing their hearts closer to Islam? This is his opinion. And the classical opinion is that it can't be given to a non-Muslim. He was saying that it should be given. He was saying actually you should, and he was telling this to a specific charity with a certain a meeting with a charity, and he was saying that you should use zakat funds for that. And the wayfarer, the traveller.
Is the card
Yes, well, Aminina alayha, and the ones who collect zakat. So this brings us to the question that can organisations today, for example, take from zakat? So you will see that today people have this criticism when it comes to charities. The admin fees and whatnot are crazy.
So if we give to you, do you want to take 10%?
So NZF, they have a policy where they take 10% of zakat, but it's only used for the caseworkers. So those who are directly dealing with the zakat cases. So not for the admin staff, not for the premises, not for anything else. Which is very rare, by the way, when you look at in terms of how zakat's used in charities. So yeah, you'll find that certain charity you want to, and I would say you go yourself on the Charities Commission website, research charities, look at what is their income, what is their expenditure, how is it that 40-50% of my donation is being used in admin fees and whatnot, and you should make a conscious decision that in certain charities, if you're giving £10 and 40-50 or £4 or £5 is being used, mashallah, bismillah. So you have to be, you have to make a conscious decision, and you have to look at these things properly, and you have to, make sure that what you're donating is to your best ability is going to be used in the right way, inshallah.
In our parents' generation, the mothers traditionally never worked, but they met the nisab. So who would be held accountable then for the zakat? Because the woman generally wouldn't have an income coming in, she'd just have a pot of gold. So would the husband be okay to pay?
So the husband's okay to pay.
Right.
It's her responsibility,
Right.
yes, but the husband is fine to pay. So the wife agrees and the husband agrees, then the husband can pay on behalf of the wife.
What if he doesn't have the means, but she's still got this gold?
So she's got the gold, and the opinion is that she would sell some of that gold in order to pay the zakat.
Otherwise, they don't want to. They won't sell it.
Yeah, but
Okay, so we
the hadith is
So just turn that around.
it'll become hot more
So
than
the man is
normally would be.
working,
You'd have to wear
and
his
the
hot
wife
gold.
is under the nisab. But personally, because we were talking about individuals who pay zakat and individuals who are liable to receive zakat themselves, on their own. So if she's under the nisab herself, she doesn't own any assets, doesn't have any money. So can she receive zakat even though the husband or the son who lives in the house?
technically speaking, yes. However, you have to understand is that it's the responsibility of the husband. It's his duty to spend upon his wife.
Yeah, spend for her needs, but
For her
if she hasn't got any savings, she hasn't got any jewellery, but everything else is paid for, she gets clothes and food.
Technically, if she's below the nisab, she's entitled to zakat.
So that's on an individual basis.
On an individual
Even
basis.
though they might be living as a part of a wider
Yes,
family.
but here the reality is though, is that no charity really would give zakat to that kind of person. Yeah. She drives a BMW, yeah? No, because they would say what? They would say that you have a husband who's got an income, okay, and his duty is to spend upon you. If, for example, she'd been kicked out or whatever, then it's different. But they would say that, look, your household income is there, your husband is earning, you're living in a house, you've got all the needs that you have. So it'd be very difficult for any charity to assess them and say, yes, you can answer that.
That's why, like you said, perhaps the nisab figure is just becoming arbitrary.
Sorry. Okay, I think we should call it a day there, inshallah. Sisters were very quiet. Mashallah. Any questions, sisters? All clear, mashallah.
The recipients, they've got.
She's living within her in-laws, but they're not actually financially supporting her. But she's living in the household, so she's had a roof over her head. But then, all her other finances, could you give your dad to support her in that way?
You could. So obviously the immediate family, so her parents, etc., wouldn't, because that's their duty to do anyway. But if another person wanted to come and give them zakat, they could do. Right? Bismillah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.